Hi friends, it's your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Stranger Things Season 2, Episode 2, Trick or Treat Freak. And today we're going to look at the focus of this season, I believe, is Dustin Henderson. He's very prominent in this season, and I'm trying to look at this season through the lens of Dustin Henderson. And so Dustin Henderson, at this point, 11 is still separated from her friends. She doesn't, she has not. She is living with Jim Hopper, but the core four are together again. So it's Mike Wheeler, it's Will Byers, it's Lucas Sinclair, and Dustin Henderson. And Dustin comes back to his home, and he finds in the trash can this creature, right? And now we know what it is. What he finds, he calls it a pollywog, and he later names it Dartagnan. But what it really is a baby demo dog, right? And not a Demogorgon, right? To be clear, right? This is a demo dog, and the demo dogs are now, yeah. So, is it? I think the demo dogs really are different than the Demogorgons, right? The Demogorgons are upright. I don't think a Demogorgon is simply a grown-up demo dog, but also, the Duffer Brothers keep this purposely hidden, and I think that's good, right? Like, we don't know everything about the Upside Down, and that's one of the reasons why Hawkins Labs exist. Is the U.S. government is investigating this, but Dustin finds this guy and he brings him into his home, and so there's a lot of things that are happening. First of all, this is imprinted, right? Just like a duckling. If you encounter a duckling before it encounters its mother, it's actually dangerous, right? It's not good for the duckling, right? Like it can be quite dangerous. Yeah, so that right there is an issue. And then, in addition to that, it's so Dartagnan, this demo dog baby, imprints on Dustin Henderson. Okay, and Dustin Henderson, and then the other thing that we see is we go into Dustin Henderson's home, and we see, and Dustin Henderson has a mother who loves him, but does not understand him, right? But is highly supportive of him, right? Also, we have no idea where his father is, which I think is quite interesting, in that, like it's really wild. Like, so yeah, so let's look at the core four's parents. I find this really fascinating. So Dustin's home is a highly supportive mother who is a single mother who is highly capable of taking care of Dustin, and pretty clearly has given Dustin everything he needs, right? They're not struggling, right? And the dad's not there, but the mother is not struggling to provide for herself or Dustin. There are no signs that that's the case. That is not the case with Will Byers, right? Will Byers' mother, Joyce Byers, is really struggling to support herself and her two boys. They have a really ratchety house, and the boys are fed and they're clothed, but they have almost nothing else, right? And not because she's not trying. She is definitely trying. She is really, like, she loves them and she cares for them, but she is struggling to do for them, right? Then you have Nancy. You have the Wheelers' parents. Nancy Wheeler's mom, I believe Karen Wheeler, is really, and she is pretty classic Karen. She really loves her son and daughter, and she's got a good head on her shoulders. She knows who they are. She understands them, right? And she's trying to do the best she can, but her husband is completely checked out, except, get this, he provides. They have everything they need, and they're richer than any of the other families, right? Like, Karen Wheeler has the money they need. They're all going to be able to go to college, right? And they want for nothing. They don't want for food. They don't want for shelter. They don't want for clothing. That's not the case with the Byers, right? Like they're struggling, they're scraping by, right? The Hendersons are doing fine, and what's even weirder is the Henderson family seems to be doing okay with no father, right? There doesn't seem to be, whereas the Byers, Lonnie, their dad, he's still around, but he's terrible, and they can't rely on him for anything. In fact, he's traitorous to the family. It's worse than, it's not that his absence is damaging, it's that literally his presence is more damaging than his absence, right? So they are having a rough time. And then Lucas Sinclair, he's got an engaged mother and an engaged father, right? But we see the least of his home life, which I think is interesting. But, you know, so at this point, you have this situation where, you have this situation where, where each of the families are really uniquely shown, right? And at this point, Dartagnan is established with Dustin Henderson, and he's, you know, he's living in his home. Like Dustin Henderson takes his turtle out of its tank to give him a spot. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.